Welcome back to the podcast. Today we've got Katharine Giovanni with us. She's going to teach you how to forgive the unforgivable, right? This is one of those things we carry with us, those things where we have those resentments and anger toward people, those things that we don't think we could ever let go of. Today we're going to follow a process that will help us get there. Katharine, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Forgiving the unforgivable. Look, today I'm gonna tell you right now. I woke up this morning at 3:00 in the morning. I have a couple people that I'm kind of resentful at. Something happened this week. Somebody said something to somebody else, and they were just talking about it. I'd heard about it, and all of a sudden I have a resentment, right? So I slept on it. I woke up in the morning. I'm like, those people, how could they? I'm gonna get back. Oh, I'm gonna get even. Right? Because inside of my brain, there's like the soprano. I'm going to get even. Oh, I'll show those people. I'll go get even. And it's been time consuming and it's sucked up a lot of brain power. And, how do you drop it? Like I'm sitting there thinking to myself, I know better than that. I've done enough work on myself over these years. I know how not to do this. Come on. But it was consuming. It still does consume me. I still feel a bit of the little resentment in there.
Well, the thing about forgiveness is, on a 10 scale, with 10 being unforgivable and 1 being the easiest person in the world, everybody listening and watching this broadcast right now is thinking of their number 10 person. Totally fair. That's why nobody wants to forgive, because they were unforgivable, and many of them don't deserve your forgiveness. No, they don't. And I am the only one on the planet that's going to tell you, you don't have to forgive the unforgivable. Why? Because there's a lot of people, places, and things, and I did say places and things, hang with me, don't click off, that you can forgive before you even get to that dumpster fire. So a few principles before we get started, and we're going to go into the system, and we'll go into exactly how to forgive the unforgivable, because it's a bear. But just because I forgive you doesn't mean I want a relationship with you. Quite frankly, I probably don't. And here's the big one. This is the really big one that trips everybody up. Just because I forgive you doesn't mean all of a sudden I'm giving you a pass. It doesn't mean all of a sudden I'm saying you were right and I was wrong. It doesn't mean I'm coming over to the dark side, as it were. Forgiveness means simply, I want you out of my head. Period. That's what it means. I want to stop thinking about you. I want you out of my head. It's personal. It's selfish. You do it for you. You don't do it for them because they don't care. They're off doing their life, and you're the one eating a pint of Ben & Jerry's ice cream, crying in your kitchen. You want to get it. You're forgiving for you, not them.
Well, I do get that. Like resentment is someone's explained it to me. It is the poison I drink expecting you to die.
That's a Buddha quote. I love that quote.
That thing where resentment, the kind of, I feel it again, right? I feel it again. It feels like the story changes every time I refill it, right? It gets worse. It gets louder. It gets worse. I forget my part, right? I forget the part that I had to do something to do with it. And I kind of refeel it. And every time I do it, it gets a little louder, a little change, and my part gets smaller and their part gets worse. And it's funny the way the brain works with that. I just really have noticed that, like this morning, like what I was dealing with this morning, something about, these two guys, and I can't believe those guys. They deserve it. And, my brain sounds something like that. It sounds like this. Oh my God, I can't believe it. I'm going to go after it. I'll get even. Let me show you, and it's really exhausting to go through that.
It is. And I have people come to me all the time that says, Katharine, I did forgive them. I did do the work, but they're not staying forgiven, are they? You're all thinking of somebody you forgave, but you're thinking of that person as you're listening to me, right? They didn't stay forgiven. So here's the secret sauce. Here's the magic pill. You didn't forgive the energy.
Ooh, now talk about that. What do you mean by that?
Science, Einstein in particular, proved that energy is neither created nor destroyed. It just turns in from one thing into another. Science has also taught us that everything on our planet has energy around it, including this silver little microphone that I'm talking into right now. It has an energy field around it. And when you get angry, people assume that it leaves your mouth and it dissipates into the universe. In fact, people don't even think about where it goes. You're not even thinking. You're angry. You're in the moment. So where does the energy go? It hangs in your energy field, and it's going to stay there until you clear it. So
like it's in a cellular level. Is that what you're saying? Like it's in your muscles, your bones. It's in you.
It's in you. Here's some science that I'll throw at you. There was a study done called the Japanese water study by a dude in Japan named Hasumoto, something like that. If you Google Japanese water study, it comes right up. And I'll just say it quickly in the interest of time. Took several containers of water. This is true. All he did to one container of water, talk to it. That's all he did. Said beautiful, loving things to it. The other container of water, all he did was spit hate at it. These horrible, toxic words. He then froze the water and he put it under a microscope. The water that he spoke love to had these gorgeous crystal formations. They're right online. They're interesting. The water he spoke hate to had these black and brown, sickly, disease-looking formations. So why am I telling you all this? Your body is 95% water. So when you're resentful, when your self-talk is bad, when you are holding unforgiveness in your body, what do you think you're doing to the water cells within your own body? You're making yourself sick, literally from the inside out.
Wow, I get it. Look, I can't tell you, when I'm holding on to, like I am this morning, right? When I'm holding on to something,
yeah,
it's actually exhausting, right? And it's like a feeling of I can feel it through my whole system. It's just off, right? The vibration or the system itself gets off a little bit on it. And, you can just imagine when you're holding multiple ones, or, I'm in AA, right? You go through a fifth step and during your fifth step, you start to look at these resentments. And at first I'm like, I got resentments. Like, what are you guys talking about? I just want to quit drinking. And they're like, no, you got to work with these resentments. I mean, a lot of us drink because of resentments and anger. The three top things are really fear, the really fear or resentments, fear and sexual behavior, right? There's a lot
You're
of
right.
things that deal with it there. And that resentment, I'm like, I didn't have any resentments. And all of a sudden they were like, well, just start writing them down. And they were like, look at the people, like anybody that you got this like cringe for, anybody you're like, or anybody that if you see them on a block, you kind of like, right. Or, and I started, and then you start talking about what about places, what about, agencies, government agencies, how about the police department? How about,
I can help you with that. By the way, I've been sober for 35 years.
Awesome. That's awesome.
And that's how this whole thing started. It was 35 years ago when I quit drinking, and they want you to go through the fourth step, and they want you to make amends, and they want you to reach out and make amends with people. I was shy as a church mouse. I am an extroverted introvert, they tell me now, because I've learned how to turn it off and on. But back then, remember how incredibly old I am. There was no technology. So you had two choices. If I could text these people, that would have been brilliant, but I couldn't. We didn't have the tech. So you could either call them up on the phone and risk getting yelled at, thank you very much, or you could go see them in person and risk getting yelled at, thank you very much. So I didn't want to do either. So I forgave everybody in the privacy of my own apartment in New York City, and I had unintentionally tapped into the first step of my forgiveness system, meaning in my world, you actually do not have to reach out and talk to anybody. You do it in the privacy of your own home. And that being said, since you don't have to call anybody and tell anybody you're forgiving them, you can forgive dead people, because where they are or not doesn't matter a lick. So if you haven't gotten closure from somebody who's already passed, it doesn't matter because they're alive and well in your head.
Well, it was just one of those things where, so you can do this from in your own living room. You don't necessarily, like in AA, they teach you to, you got to kind of go do an amends with people. And, a big part of the, resentment part of it in that regard was, how many of them did I have something to do with? Right. There was kind of another.
And how many do you remember? I don't remember all of them.
Well, I ended up with like 160
memory wipe.
I ended up with 168 resentments, right? And I'm like, for a guy who had no resentments when I started, as I started to unwind them, I was like a resentment ball, just this ball of, just raw energy of, my mom, myself, my family. But yeah, just about every one of my family members had some resentment. Every cop that ever pulled me over was there. The school system, I was mad, because I suffered in school, and like they didn't know how to teach me, or how about the Catholic Church? I was really mad at those people. I'm like, it always made me feel like this awful sinner that I was,
Unforgivable.
It was just.
Remember, I said people, places, and things.
That's right.
It's all forgivable. It's, you don't have to reach out and talk to these people. And there's a couple of weird sayings that people bandy around. They say, forgive and forget. I'm from New York City, and I can promise you with every fiber of my being, and I can speak for everybody in that town, we don't forget. Ever. So what I can promise you is neutrality. When you do my system, and we'll go through the steps in a minute, but when you do my system, I can promise you that it will remove the emotional charge. So you're not going to care. You're not going to think good. You're not going to think bad. You can go into a party and see this person and you won't give a damn. That's freedom. That's joy.
Freedom. That's real freedom.
Peace.
Right. Not to be in that triggered state. Right. Because
you are not going to be triggered. You might even be able to talk about the weather and wish them a happy birthday.
Oh, now there you go.
That's absolute peace, because they're not living rent free in your head. So anger is kind of like this little cup of coffee. So when you first get angry, I can easily hold this cup of coffee off to my side. And if you're listening, I'm just holding a cup to the side of my body. And if I don't let go of some of the anger, well, this is the reason, this is why you need to forgive. If I don't let go of it, all of a sudden it's going to start to become heavy. Now I'm using 2 arms to hold up the cup. Look at my body language. I can still have a conversation with you, but it's starting to penetrate my conversations. And if I still don't release it, well, now I'm holding the cup in front of my body. I can't even see you anymore. I'm missing opportunities. I'm missing dream jobs. I'm missing money-making opportunities. My dream client just walked in. I didn't see it because I'm so focused on all my resentments. So this forgiveness system is designed to slowly move your forgiveness back off to the side. And then eventually, if you keep working the system, you can put it down. Now look at my body language. Now I'm free. Absolute freedom.
Yeah, that's interesting, because it always feels like the more of those resentments I hold on to, those more of that anger, that frustration that I have with those resentments, right? Re-feeling those things, it does take me out of the ability to be a creator. At least I've noticed as I've worked on those resentments and let go of them, like the creator in me opens up, my ability to be present, my ability to be in a space, and that maybe that light inside of me, that spiritual being that I drive in this hairless monkey, gets to come out. And it ultimately is a creator, right? It's the one inside of me that creates great ideas. But when I'm in that resentment space, it feels like that pipeline or that access to it does tighten up and closes off. So let's get into the steps of, I want to release these 2 characters from my brain. I want to let go of them. Okay. Let's get into it. Let's get right into it. All right. So where do I start?
The 2 characters in your brain right now, we're going to put in the unforgivable box, because you make an excellent, in business, we call it a beta test. I like to call it guinea pigs. So, guinea pigs are cuter than beta tests. So we're going to leave your 2 people off to the side for a minute, and I'm going to talk about them in a second and teach you exactly how to get out of that hell. So for the moment, I want everybody, and I want you to do this before bed. Usually I want you to do it before bed because it's going to make you tired. But I want you to sit down and I want you to do something really, really crazy. It's going to make some of you twitch. I kind of want you to turn your cell phone off.
Whoa. Now, hey. Let's not get crazy over here.
I know. And if you're twitching at the thought of turning your cell phone off, turn the volume off. I don't want it to vibrate, because if it dances on your desk, you're going to look at it. What I'm really going for is I want you to be alone for about a half hour. Okay. And I want little humans out of the room. The dog can be there if it can be quiet, but I'm a dog person. So I want you to get a pad of paper and a pen, and you don't have to do this right now, but tonight you will. I want you to get a pad of paper and a pen, and I want you to write down all the people you think you need to forgive. Now, your number 10s on a 10 scale, with 10 being unforgivable and 1 being easy, those unforgivables will be the first people you write down in the paper. That's fine. That's normal. It was for me too. But then I want you to keep going. I want you to write them all. From the time you were a kid in grammar school to present day, through all the, through all the years I was drinking, through all the years I had cancer, all these things I wrote down. I probably had 50 names on my list personally. And then I want you to rate them between 1 and 10. 10 being horrific, 1 being easy. Now, you could have 20 number 7s. I really don't care. You could skip a number. I also don't care. What I do care about desperately is when you do this forgiveness, I want you to start with the easy ones and work your way up to the number 10s. They're last, which is why we're doing your 2 people last. So I want you to look at those first people, and then let's say it's somebody from grammar school.
Yeah.
I want you to sit, in my case, I was sitting in the middle of my bed, and my sons weren't around at the time. And I want you to imagine the person is standing in front of you, not the adult. I want you to see the kid. If you're trying to forgive a number 1 level person who you used to know in grammar school that was your best friend, I want you to see the kid you were best friends with. If you can't imagine the person in your mind's eye, because not everybody can, I want you to put a chair in front of you and talk to the chair. You could put their picture on it if you want. You could even put their name on it if you need kind of stuff like that, if you need tools. But talk to the chair. Now you're alone in the room. Let it all out. Say anything you want. This is where the closure comes in. Say anything you like, because you're alone. You can laugh, you can cry, you can throw things. I don't care what you do. And then when you're done, I want you to put your hand in your heart, and I want you to repeat the following mantra. I completely forgive Martha. I forgive the energy around Martha. I completely forgive myself. I forgive the energy around myself. I forgive the energy around the entire relationship. And so it is. Amen. Go with God. End it any way you like. Now I want you to check in with your body. Is it still a level 1 person, or is it gone? If it's gone, cross the name off the list, go to the next one. If let's say it was a level 3 person, still a little angry, okay, cross the 3 off, make it a 2, wait 24 hours, do it again tomorrow. This happened to a friend of mine, and she was right in front of me when she did it. And it was a level 4 person. She thought it would be easy to kick to the curb. She checked in with her body, just saying the mantra 1 time, and it shot up to a 10. She was even more angry than when she started. What happened? The brain is the most marvelous tool, and it protects you like an overprotective, very zealous best friend. There's a closet in the back of your head that's been padlocked for decades. And there's a movie playing back there that you didn't even know was there. You turn it off if you knew it was there, but it's there and it's playing. And what happened was she said the magic word, the password. Okay. Now she's ready to open the closet. And she got flooded by memories. So you have to cross out the number 4, put a 10, put it to the end, start again. That's the basics of the system.
All right, so go back through it again.
I want you to sit in a room alone, and I want you to write down all the people. Now, I don't want you to judge the list.
Just write the list. Just write. Don't judge it. Just write it.
No, if you write the name Tom down, you don't remember it, Tom. I don't care. Some part of your being is angry at somebody named Tom, whether you remember it or not. The memory doesn't matter. Obviously, Tom will be a number 1 person because you don't remember them. Write it down anyways. One of my best friends, wrote down a little red wagon. She had no idea why she wrote the words little red wagon, but she did. She forgave it. And I guess at some point she got mad at a little red wagon. Don't judge the list. And then rate them from 1 to 10. Again, don't judge the people that you rate a number 10. You already know who I'm talking about. These are the people that are unforgivable. And then just slowly go through the list using my mantra. Now, the reason I have you put your hands on your heart is to remind you to say that mantra from your heart, because the words are just for us stupid humans. It's the energy behind the words that is where the magic happens. And the unforgivable, that's a whole different kettle of fish.
All right. So now we go through and write this list, right? We got a pretty thorough list. Maybe is this 1 sitting, 2 sittings, multiple sittings? Talk to me about does it take some iterations? What do you find to be the best practices?
This is going to take a minute. This is a marathon, not a sprint. I never want you to do more than 10 names a night. Okay. And the reason I want you to do them at night is because your body heals itself when it's sleeping. Remember those water cells I was talking about? All those old cells have to go somewhere, may I politely say. when I wrote this list, I was my own guinea pig. I actually did this exercise. I've done it thousands of times at this point. But the first time I did it, I must have written down 50 names. And I thought, because I'm an overachiever, shocker, written a bunch of books, I said, this is going to be great. I'm going to do all of them all at once, all tonight. I'm going to be like a phoenix rising from the ashes. I'm going to be a butterfly coming out of a cocoon. I'm going to wake up tomorrow morning and I'm going to be a brand new person.
Go, Katharine, go.
Didn't end up the way I thought it would.
Yeah.
I did forgive many people on the list. But then I also spent the next 3 days in bed with what everybody thought was the stomach flu. It was not the stomach flu. I had forgiven too many people, and I had what the American Indians used to call energy sickness. It's a real thing.
Wow.
And I had literally made myself sick, and the energy had nowhere to go. There was just so much that I had cleared. My body needed a good 3 days to acclimate to what I had done. So I never want you to do more than 10 a night. And if you're forgiving a high level person, like an 8, a 9, or a 10 level person, only do 1 a night. So you don't make yourself sick. But if you do make yourself sick, you didn't eat a piece of bad fish. It's just your body is just literally clearing the energy out. Just stay with it. Most people, not me, obviously I'm the one with the in the bathroom, but most people get super tired.
Well, like even thinking about it right now, here, even thinking about what I have to do, with these two characters, I can feel it. Like here, exactly what we're just talking about. I just noticed, like for a second, like I've had coffee this morning. My morning's my jam. All of a sudden, I just noticed that, like a little nodding, like just there literally is a visceral sensation of tiredness.
Because you've already started to, even based on what I just said, you've mentally put those people and put up the appropriate number next to these people mentally. And there's a part of you that's already started forgiving them.
Yeah. It's kind of,
and that's why you're a little tired.
Yeah.
The energy is real. When I did, now this might cause some people's brains to bleed and stretch a little bit. I apologize in advance. But when I did this, I forgave somebody that I went to high school with. It was a long time ago when dinosaurs roamed, and I couldn't even remember what we were mad at. It was so many years ago, back before the turn of the century. Isn't that an awful thing to say?
Right.
Oof. Back in the 1900s.
There was time before then?
I know, right? And I sat down and I forgave her. I made one pass, said the forgiveness mantra, checked in. Yep, she was totally forgiven. And I did it around 11 o'clock in the morning. I had not spoken to this girl in decades. I'm actually not. This is a true story. 2 hours later, she calls me up on the phone.
Whoa.
2 hours later.
Whoa.
And I am a concierge by trade. I retired in 2020, but I've been teaching people how to be a concierge in customer service for decades. And my concierge training kicked in virtually immediately. So I was able to mask my emotions to a certain extent. So we made the appropriate noises and said the right things. And we did, all the things that people do when you reconnecting. And I couldn't stand it. And I said, I have to know. I'm a curious little bear. Why did you call me today of all days? She said, it was the damnedest thing. 2 hours ago, which was exactly when I was saying this mantra, a figurine you gave me in high school flew off my shelf and landed in the middle of my floor, and I thought I should give you a call.
Is that crazy?
It's a level 1 person. The forgiveness energy for a level 1 person can cause a figurine to go off a shelf 700 miles away. Can you imagine what the higher level people is going to do to your life? Can you imagine the new relationships, the new people that are going to be coming into your life? And people are going to leave your life too. I mean, let's be fair. Some people will leave your life as well. Let them go.
These are the things I think we're not in touch with. We as a people, get into this. Our civilization grows. We go from being these indigenous people that are really in touch with these type of energies in our body, right? In fact, I would venture to say this was our real, our primary science when you were there, knowing the body, know these energies, knowing these feelings. And somewhere the Industrial Revolution comes along, and science and school, and we start to discount those feelings you're talking about, that energy that's there, right? If it's not scientific, I can't do it, I can't prove it, right? If it wasn't given us by some doctor or scientist, all of a sudden we disqualify it, those feelings, those energies, right? If it can't be fixed by medicine or by a ruler or by,
Yeah.
there's something wrong with it. And I think we're all starting to recognize that the pendulum swung way too far the other side with medicines and technology, all this other stuff. And now we're starting to recognize that there's some other energies that we know, right? At an intuitive level, there is the feelings and there are those things that just like you just talked about, that energy where all of a sudden a figurine 700 miles away is popping off a shelf, right? I've got a couple other stories that are similar to that, where, you do something here and the things that open up because of the work that you do, you couldn't explain. Yeah.
A Native American Indian is the one who taught me about energy sickness. But unforgivable people are different. So let's talk about the unforgivable people. So we'll take one of my unforgivables as an example. Let's take, we won't use my dad. We'll use the bully in school. I was terribly bullied in school, like really badly in grammar school. So when I sat down, I wasn't ready to forgive the bully because I wasn't. In fact, I was so angry, I didn't even want to forgive the energy around the bully. So I picked apart the memory. Remember when I said at the beginning of this podcast that everything has energy around it. So, and I'm serious. So I forgave the school building that I went to and the energy around the building. I forgave the desk that I sat at. I forgave the chair. I forgave the floor, the energy around the floor. I forgave the playground and the swing set and the people who stood around and didn't help me and the energy around all of these things. I forgave New York City and the energy around New York City. I forgave 1974, the actual year. I said my mantra, said I completely forgive 1974 and the energy around 1974, because that's the year I tried to commit suicide when I was in the 8th grade because of the bullying and a bunch of other stuff that was going on. I picked apart the memory, but let me be clear, I still haven't forgiven the bully yet. So I've managed to get that number 10 probably down to a 9, and I still haven't forgiven the bully. There are unforgivable people in this world. Hands down, unforgivable. There might be a unicorn human around somewhere on the planet that's capable, but most of us can't. And what I'm doing is I'm picking apart the memories. So if you've got an unforgivable person, you can forgive the energy around the person. You can forgive the park. You can forgive yourself for getting into the car. You can forgive yourself for the words that you said. You can forgive yourself for not listening to your friend. You can forgive the city, the table, the chair, the bench, the bed. You can forgive the energy around them. You can forgive yourself. And that's going to be just enough to tip the scales to get that resentment and dial it back. So in your particular case, if you're not ready to forgive those two people that you're really mad at, you can forgive the energy around both of those people.
No, I am. I
forgive the other stuff within the memory.
Like here, I get, when I think about these two guys and kind of what happened, I can forgive them. Like I get humans being humans, right? Their protection of themselves, or, hey, having to put somebody else down to make themselves feel better. Like I get that. Like I don't need to be in the dance with them. Like I don't need to go throw them a rope and go play tug of war with them. It's kind of
you never will. There's no need for it.
Yeah, I get that.
Just because you forgive them doesn't mean you want a relationship with them. You probably don't.
Well,
a lot of people who are talking about their ex-business partners or something like that, you really don't want a relationship. You've got boundaries in place. And it also, here's a big one. It doesn't mean they were right, and they don't deserve your forgiveness. People look at me all the time and say they don't deserve my forgiveness. My answer, no, they don't. And they're going to continue to not deserve your forgiveness. You're not doing it for them. You're doing it for you. And you don't even have to tell them you've done it. You're doing it for you. You're not doing it for them. They still don't deserve your forgiveness. They still don't deserve a relationship with you. You're doing it because you want to be free.
Not wanting to play tug of war with them is something I realize. Like there's for sure some anger, right? There's some anger towards, and I want to kind of admit that, like, yeah, I don't like their behavior and the things they're doing or saying. I don't like that. But there's the other part of me that says, I don't want to throw the rope and go play tug of war. Now,
Right.
I don't know that at this point, when I say forgive it, how do you forgive that anger? How do you forgive that energy? How do I release the energy? Because this morning in bed, like my brain would not stop finding ways to get even. Like I wanted to get back, and I'm like, all right, just go to bed. God, take this away from me or whatever. I would pray. I tried thinking about other things, and the energy kept coming back to them. Right. And then all of a sudden,
Repeat after me.
Let's go.
I completely forgive.
I completely forgive
myself for not being able to forgive.
Myself for not being able to forgive.
And the energy around this thought.
And the energy around those thoughts.
And so it is. That's
and
where you
so
start.
It is. Let's do it again. Let's do it again.
I completely forgive myself for not being able to forgive.
I completely forgive myself for not being able to forgive.
And the energy around this thought.
And the energy around those thoughts.
I completely forgive myself.
I completely forgive myself
for not being able to forgive these two people.
For not being able to forgive these two people.
And the energy around this thought.
And the energy around those thoughts.
How does it make you feel?
Yeah. There's definitely, like, you can almost, like, there's a switch that happens right there.
Yeah. It's subtle, but you can feel it.
Yeah.
You chip away at it. And every night you chip away at it. And if you're not able to forgive, say, I completely forgive myself for not being able to forgive, and the energy around this thought three times a night before bed for the next week. I guarantee you at some point, the back closet in your mind is going to open and names are going to start flooding into your head. And you'll be able to start writing names down of people. But remember what I said, you can forgive anything. You can forgive your Super Bowl team for not winning past January. Enough time has gone by. I think maybe you can forgive them. You can forgive people, places, things. You can forgive your car for not starting. You can forgive politicians, not going there, dare I say. You can forgive the war in the Middle East. What's it going to do for the war in the Middle East? Absolutely nothing, but it's going to be brilliant for you. If CNN has made you angry, you can forgive anybody on CNN, any news anchor, anybody in your life. You can forgive the dog for biting you. Everything is forgivable. It's just a matter of, is it a 1 or is it a 10? And if it's a 10, then we're going to pick away at it, and we're going to start picking away at the objects. You know, if you find yourself crying in the shower, this is actually happened to a client of mine. She didn't want to forgive her number 10, which was her boss. And she was crying every day in the shower because she didn't want to go to work. So I started her by telling her to forgive the shower. Forgive the water in the shower. Forgive the shower. That's where we started. And that was the tipping scale. And you pick apart the memory and to finally get where you want to go. But at the end of the day, do you have to forgive the unforgivable? No, you don't. Forgiving the other stuff within the memory, that's going to help. Now, this is the first book of 3. The second book, I have a co-author. My 2 besties are helping me with it, co-authoring the next one. But the next one is going to focus on how to forgive yourself. So instead of writing, now I want you to do the first list first. But then once you think you're done, then I want you to write a second list number 2. And these are all the people that you think need to forgive you. And I figured this out because somebody asked me once, if you had one regret in your life, what would it be? And I instantaneously, without a doubt, said, I was mad at my dad. So mad at my dad. I didn't let him walk me down the aisle when I got married 33 years ago. And I've always regretted it. Now, he was an alcoholic and all that thing. But it's one thing I've always regretted because it was mean. I mean, it was mean. And that's the one regret. So when I finally forgave my father, who's been dead for a very long time, you can forgive dead people. I got dead from a 10 down to a 1. And then I realized I had to go the other way because there was stuff I probably said to him that were equally as hurtful. So I wrote down a list of all the things and all the people I wanted to forgive me. Remember, I've been sober for 35 years, so my list was a little bit lengthy. And then I rated them from 1 to 10, and then I started with the ones, but I flipped the mantra a little bit. Instead of saying, I completely forgive Martha, I flipped the language by saying, Martha completely forgives me. And you don't have to reach out to these people. You're the prisoner. You're trying to release yourself from the prison.
It's exactly that. It's a mental prison, and that's, I'll give you another piece on it. I noticed that a little of that frustration is, in my past, has been an addiction, right? Like being frustrated, it's almost like a high, right? Anger and
You're
frustration.
addicted to your story. If you look at me, look at what I've survived. But here's the thing: I'm not bashing any men out there, but this happened to me live. Somebody came up to me. It was a gentleman, and he looked at me and he says, "I don't agree with you." Okay, that's fine with me. I don't care. And he said, and I said, "What don't you agree with?" He said, "I've made a lot of money in my life." Remember, I'm a concierge, so in my head, I'm going, "Okay, so." And I have a lot of successful businesses, and I have a lot of successful companies, and I've had a lot of successful marriages. Okay, I have questions on that one, but keep going. Right? And he said, and I've done it on my bed of hate. I've done it on my bed of pain. That's how I got here. Okay, I'll play. Sure. Let's talk about that. There are 2 trains you can take. One is the local, one is the express. Both trains will get you to your destination. But the local train is like a little train of pain, man. It's like going into a hotel elevator and you press the 30th floor, and some punk kid has pressed every button between 2 and 30, and you got to stop at every single solitary floor. And by the time you get to the 30th, you're on your knees calling for your mama. You are just finished with it. That's like the local train. It's going to stop at every stop. You're going to get bloodied. It's going to be painful. So wouldn't you rather get off that little train of pain and hop on the express? You'll get twice as far, twice as fast on a bed of forgiveness and love than you will in your little train of pain. You'll still get to where you want to go, but it's going to hurt.
Yeah, for sure. The more of that stuff that I can release, right, as I go through this releasing of the resentment, releasing of the forgiveness, really giving forgiveness to others, the creativity opens up dramatically. What I noticed through that 5th step work was, on the other side, had I known how easy and what I would get out of doing the work, right? What I mean do the work is that letting go of these resentments. If I knew then what I know now about how powerful that is in my life, and how I would continue to do that work, where I continue to look for those resentments. And by the way, multiple years sober, and I still, I have to go back and look at them again, right? Do it again, because they pop up. It's kind of like a game of whack-a-mole, right? They pop right back up, and even
but it's
sober.
a permanent game of whack-a-mole. You can't walk away from the damn table.
But like, I don't know about you, but like I get this sense that every once in a while, I really would like to get to a place where I do so much work, I don't have them again, right? But it doesn't feel like that's the truth. It doesn't feel like that'll ever be the spot where it'll really exist. It does feel like it's.
I disagree.
Yeah.
I have been sober a long time, and I have the water under my bridge. I'm human. Stuff has happened over the years. I'm just turned 64. And I can look back at my dysfunctional childhood. I can look back at all those years. And I used to be able to tell stories and pull out the hate and the resentments. And now I look back and I see the love. I see the people that were trying to help me. So it's not that I have forgotten. I haven't. I've changed my perception. I've changed the memory. So now I'm looking at it from a different perspective, and I can see the love that was back there all along. And that's what I remember. So, but the sad point is, have I finished my forgiveness journey? Well, I don't forgive much in my past anymore because I've done it. But humans irritate other humans, and sadly just turn on the TV and there's something to get angry at. So we'll always have things that we can forgive in our lives, because that's the part of being human. But you can release what's in your past. Now, I understand some people don't want to go back there. They don't even want to go back and revisit last week. I get that. But I'm only asking you to go back once or twice to clear it, and then you'll never have to see it again.
Well, I got to tell you what, Katharine, this has been one of the most insightful podcasts I've ever done, right? Being able to work on forgiveness and letting go of forgiveness it's been a gift. When I started this podcast, I was carrying some real weight for two guys, and I can feel in this now moment, I don't have that weight anymore. And that was a pretty easy shift, right? It wasn't as hard as I thought it was going to be to get through this. I wasn't going to have to do a whole bunch of lifting. It's actually literally just forgiving myself for not being able to forgive.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good spot to start in, Katharine.
It's where you start. You start with the little things and you work your way up to the big ones. And those big ones, they're a bear. We all know they're a bear, especially if they're traumatic and horrific and, awful. But you chip away at it. You leave it for last.
Well, Katharine Giovanni, if people want to get a hold of you and have them do more work with them, have you come in and be a coach for them, or have you come do some work for them and their group, what's the best way for them to catch up with you?
Just go to my website, which is KatharineGiovanni.com. And my first name, thanks to my mother, is spelled a little bit odd. Thank you, Mom. It's Katharine Giovanni.com. And all my books are also on Amazon.
I will make sure that I put all of that down below and the link to those down below. And Katharine Giovanni, I am so grateful for having you on the show today.
Thanks so much for having me. It's been fun.
It's been real fun. A lot of fun. Hey, audience members. Last week, another breakthrough and how many people we had on this. Over 1,000 people downloaded the podcast last week. It was great. And we noticed that a lot of you made it to the end of the podcast, but you did not, we were not subscribers. If you could take a second and like and subscribe and do that now, I would be so grateful. And so would all the people in the background, Alyssa and Joe, and all the people that put this program together. If you get a second, please do that now, because it makes a world of difference for us to get great guests like Katharine Giovanni to come on. So as always, thanks for listening.